Alrighty, guys, and welcome back to the Basketball Fix podcast. Now, in today's episode, we have a very special guest. I'm speaking of Caleb Kingston from Too Short for the League, an NBL One West platform, and he's deciding this year is the year where he'll slowly start to venture into the NBL space. And we thought, what a better person to get on the Basketball Fix and start to obviously build some stuff together as well. You may see his face a little bit more on the Basketball Fix platform as the season goes along. But Caleb, mate, welcome to the first official Basketball Fix episode with yourself in it, and also your first official NBL podcast as well.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I'm excited to get going, man. I'm excited to dive into the realm of NBL. I love it.
No, definitely, mate. And we've got a very exciting episode as well to get into, and we've got a lot of topics to talk about. This off-season has been one of the craziest off-seasons. I've been wanting to chat about the NBL for a number of weeks now with so much going on. In the process of been moving a house, I've been getting over the flu. A lot has been going on and been a very busy time for myself. So I'm looking forward to diving into this episode with yourself. And in this episode, for everyone listening at home, we're going to be talking about our biggest moves of the off-season so far. We'll then go into a little bit of the Contenders or Pretenders segment as well. And then off the bat, we'll finish on who is the coach under most pressure. And we'll each have a small little bold prediction as well for the NBL 26 season. Now, plenty to talk about, but one thing off the bat as well, make sure you go and check us out at Instagram at the Basketball Fix Podcast and go and subscribe to the channel as well. We'll have plenty of content coming out this season. And one more big thing, a bit of news. You probably saw it, Caleb, obviously. Jack McVeigh is back in the news for a potential NBL return, which would be absolutely amazing. I've heard a few little rumblings here and there, and what I'm hearing is genuinely exciting as well. So stay tuned for some big news coming out over the last couple of weeks, or the next couple of weeks, I should say, as we run into the NBL Blitz and obviously the start of the season. But mate, let's kick this off. I've been looking forward to this as much as you have. Let us know, what is your biggest NBL 26 off-season move?
Well, it's pretty obvious. It's obviously with the Adelaide 36ers and them getting Bryce Cotton. Now, everyone's going to be like, oh, he's picked the obvious pick, but it's because it is the biggest. Like, let's be honest, right?
Yep.
They've got Bryce Cotton from Perth. Did he leave on good terms? Who knows? Only he knows the real story, and maybe Devondre Walker as well, right? But they got him on a 3-year deal. So they've obviously been able to get him to commit long-term as well, which obviously building a team, that's something that can ease your mind a little bit as well. But not only do they get Bryce, they get Zylan as well, who was actually pretty decent last year, I think before he got injured as well at the Breakers. And then they've been able to retain Montrezl Harrell, which is massive. Now, Harrell was injured before last season, so he wasn't even at 100% game shape yet. So this year, he might be coming into the season at 100% fitness, 100% ready to attack the season, and it could be scary, in those final runs into the season as well. And obviously, with the players they picked up, they are now able to run a very flexible lineup. They've got Cheatham, he's a forward, but you can put him at small forward as well, run Harrell at the 4. Obviously, they've got Humphreys, who can play the 5, and he's been amazing the past few seasons. But then they can switch it up as well, and they can play a bit of small ball, which was pretty successful last season with some teams. So yeah, it gives them a lot of flexibility in the lineup and a bit of continuity as well by bringing back Harrell. He now knows a bit of the league as well. He knows the players. Obviously, There's only 10 teams, so it's a bit easy to scout the players and understand their tendencies and stuff like that. And look, another underrated thing of this team is their coach, Mike Wells. He was an assistant coach in the NBA with the Utah Jazz, who, surprise, surprise, had Bryce Cotton. And I think Zylan Cheatham had some involvement with the Utah Jazz as well. So he knows those players pretty well. Obviously, he would have known Montrezl Harrell as well, being able to work with them. So yeah, look, I think the best off-season move so far has definitely been the Sydney Kings. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously Adelaide have been incredible, and just a little correction there as well. Zylan played in the NBL a couple of seasons ago as well, so he spent a little bit of time in Europe over the last couple of seasons, and also in Japan as well. So making a bit of cash, he has been, but I think this is sort of where he looks at right now is probably his last chance of making it back to the NBA, and coming over to the NBL. We've seen so many players obviously make that leap back over to the NBA from the NBL in recent seasons as well, but I can't really argue too much there with the Adelaide 36ers. It's been a proper revamp essentially. It hasn't been a sort of couple of signings here or there. The whole roster's changed pretty much from top to bottom as well. When you look outside of those three guys, you've obviously got Flynn Cameron, you've obviously got Isaac White. Shout out our boy over here in WA for the Rockingham Flames, and Michael Harris is another guy who's joined the Adelaide 36ers. Matt Kenyon. This team is really, really stacked now, and they've got a lot of depth. And one thing that was a great point that you raised there as well, with obviously the small ball lineup. Zylan Cheatham has played small ball 5 in the NBL, and it works an absolute treat as well. So that's also an option for the Adelaide 36ers to go really, really small. You can potentially have a lineup of shooters around, obviously, a Zylan Cheatham, guys like Isaac White, Bryce Cotton, Dejan Vasiljevic, and Flynn Cameron, with obviously a very versatile Zylan Cheatham as well. So lots of versatility, and obviously, like you mentioned as well, a really good rounded squad. But I've gone a little bit different. I've gone a former Adelaide 36er, the former MVP runner-up of the NBL, Kendric Davis, joined the Sydney Kings heading into NBL 26 in a move that I would say shocked a lot of us. It seemed like he was going to return to the Adelaide 36ers. They were putting an absolute monster offer on the table for the very young superstar import guard. And he's a dynamic guard. He can score, facilitate, and obviously I think the biggest thing that we're going to really see his game flourish the most is his leadership. He's going to have the tutelage of Matthew Dellavedova, arguably one of the best Australian point guards we've ever seen in the NBA, and obviously in the NBL as well, coming off an incredible season with Melbourne United. So that mixed with Brian Goorjian at the helm, Andrew Bogut as well joining the association in terms of a coaching pedigree. Obviously he owns a small portion of the team, but him coming a little bit more hands-on now in the coaching front is going to be really exciting as well for Kendric Davis. So in terms of moves, I think he is the most exciting move. I know Bryce was probably the most shocking move. We didn't probably think he was coming back to the NBL, and if he did, it was only going to be for Perth and ended up in Adelaide. But for Kendric Davis, I think in terms of what this could be, we could be seeing a potential Bryce Cotton career out of Kendric Davis. And I don't mean that he's going to rival some of the greatest players of all time in the NBL. Let's just hold the horses a little bit. But what I'm meaning is a really high productive player who can score 25 points, 26 points, 7 or 8 assists, and lead his team to a championship as well. So lots of growing there for Kendric Davis. Obviously, there was a lot of problems last year in the locker room. Some of them were attributed to him as well at the Adelaide 36ers. But once again, like I mentioned before, he's an MVP player with a really, really good supporting cast around him. So I'm excited by them, and I'm really, really excited by the prospect of potentially what the Sydney Kings can do after a pretty disappointing season last year as well. But mate, I want to ask you one thing as well. This is a little bit off the top of my head as well, but is it a bigger loss for when you look at sort of the Perth Wildcats organisation? Is the Bryce Cotton move as of right now a huge loss with what you think they've done with their off-season so far? Because they've obviously gone and, like Mark Arena and Danny Mills have been going out there, they've been talking about this overall lineup. Now they've got potentially Ben Henschel coming back to the squad. You've obviously got Dylan Windler, Christian Doolittle, Joe Luala-Chul, Lat Mayen, Sunday Detch, Elijah Pepper, David Aquera, and obviously the import guard spot, which they're looking to fill. And I've heard some exciting names as well. So what are you sort of made of the Bryce Cotton situation? We'll ask you that question and we can put that to bed with the Too Short for the League perspective as well.
Well, look, I guess if you ask them, do you want Bryce back? They'll take him 100%, right? It's exciting that we get to see a different era. I know I grew up on the Bryce Cotton era. So it'll be exciting for younger fans like myself as well to be able to see what the new era is like. But obviously it sucks that he's gone, and it probably sucks the way he left. From what I've heard, the rumblings, around Perth, it wasn't on good terms. Obviously they have their own show. It wasn't didn't express too much on what really happened. But yeah, I'm excited for the change, and it'll be kind of nice to see what BC can do somewhere else.
Yeah, I think you're bang on, mate, as well. And I think that the most important thing as well is when we do sort of talk about this situation, the most important thing and most exciting thing is obviously Bryce staying in the NBL for another 3 seasons. You know, he has now got the chance. I put out a little thing a few days ago, I should say, about the last 10 MVPs in the league. He's already won 5 of them. 5 of the last 7 or 5 of the last 8, I believe he's won. So, you know, when we're putting him in that sort of caliber, he probably should have 6 or 7, to be completely honest with you. So, you know, he's rivaling Andrew Gaze as probably one of the greatest players of all time in the NBL. But we'll move on to the next segment here, and this is one that we're going to call NBL Contenders or Pretenders. I'm going to give Caleb a little bit of a rundown on each of these teams' off seasons so far, and he's going to have a little bit of a say as well, and then give me some feedback of if they are going to be contenders or pretenders. Now, we're going to start up with the runner-ups of the past 2 grand finals, Melbourne United. This team is starting to fill out quite nicely. Tyson Walker and Milton Doyle will most likely fill out that backcourt with Chris Goulding as well. You've got Shea Lee potentially coming off the bench, depending on how the Tyson Walker-Shea Lee combination does go. You've still got, obviously, the import centre spot to fill out, and Finn Delaney is returning to the league after a couple of years away as well, former New Zealand Breaker player as well. Melbourne United, Caleb, contender or pretender?
Look, I won't tease the people. I'm going to say they are a contender, but obviously the question is their centre position. Now, can they get away with not having an absolute dominant player, or do they try find a similar player to what JLA could provide? I don't think they need someone super offensive. I think they need someone more defensive and someone that can set hard screens and roll, and high IQ as well. You know, I want a center that can hit Gortat screens, you know, especially with Goulding coming around and stuff like that. So that's the one question for them. I think they're going to find someone. I trust their front office in being able to do that. But yeah, definitely contender for sure.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. And all reports that we've been hearing and sort of seeing on social media as well from a Melbourne United perspective is they're really looking for a post big man who can sort of shoot the 3-pointer as well, but a good facilitator. We know how important the pocket passes are in the modern basketball, and especially with the guys like you mentioned, Chris Goulding, Milton Doyle potentially as well, coming off the screens as a real good ISO player and obviously 2-man player as well. So, yeah, I think you're bang on. They are a genuine contender as of right now. I know, like you mentioned, they've still got a couple of spots to fill out as well, but their core and obviously their depth is going to be really, really strong heading into NBL 26. And I find it quite hard, obviously, to rule them out right now as a bit of a contender. Now, the Adelaide 36ers, we spoke about this just before, mate. Absolutely outstanding off-season. We're not going to go too much into, obviously, who they've signed and who they've lost and all that sort of stuff as well, because we did speak about that off the top. But is the Adelaide 36ers, in your eyes, a team who hasn't won a grand final in over 23 years, a genuine contender in NBL 26, or a slight little pretender as of right now?
No, look, absolutely a contender. They've gone all out. They obviously want to win a championship again. But besides the big names as well, they've got Isaac White, Mr. Aura, I call him. I want that nickname to stick. All right, I want everyone calling him Mr. Aura. They also have Michael Harris as well. They've got pretty good depth, and then good veteran guys as well. So absolutely contender. And obviously Mike Wells. Like, I think people are underrating his experience and him knowing his players, what that can provide for them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think obviously one thing as well with the Mike Wells comments, second year in the league, he's now had a chance to sort of figure it out a little bit. It's like import players to a degree as well. You've got to sort of feel the league out. And that's why sometimes the NBL does have a high turnover of import players. And sometimes we see it with import coaches as well, or un-Australian coaches, or, you know, coaches who don't coach much international basketball, because the NBL is a lot like FIBA basketball, where it is not really centered around one or two guys. It's a real full team offense and plenty of pick and rolls and pick and pops and mid-range jumpers as well. So I think Mike Wells, another season in the league with the caliber of players he's got around him, they've arguably had the greatest NBL offseason of all time. So I think they're a genuine contender. Now, the Sydney Kings, this is one that is going to be very interesting for me. Kendric Davis, for me, was the best off-season acquisition in the NBL. But I'm not 100% sold on this team as of right now. There is one ball on the court at all times to feed Kendric Davis, Matthew Dellavedova, Xavier Cooks, and potentially a whole other lot of players as well. Caleb, mate, genuine contender or a genuine pretender as of right now?
I'm kind of in the middle. I'm going to say contender. The question obviously is one ball, lots of players to get around. Delhi, obviously Kendric Davis, and then they've got Xavier Cooks as well. They got Nye, I can't say that name, Nye, coming off the bench. One ball. But it was brought to my attention that Matthew Dellavedova has played with ball handlers before. He's played with Kyrie Irving. Kendric Davis isn't at the level of Kyrie Irving, but he knows how to play second fiddle when he's on the court with another ball handler as well. But yeah, look, they're going to have to implement a whole new system. And whether they can do it through the offseason and get going early, that's the question. But I do have them as a contender. You just have to be when you sign players of that caliber.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. You make a good point there, obviously, and that was one of the selling points for Kendric Davis to come over to the Sydney Kings and play with Matthew Dellavedova, was the fact that Delhi had played with guys like Kyrie Irving, and they showed film of how Kyrie and Delhi work together in the NBA, and how Kendrick and Delhi obviously can work together in the NBL. So I love that analogy, but I don't really want to give away too much into our next segment, but I am currently going to put them as a pretender right now. I am not set, not sold on the Sydney Kings. We saw what happened last year, arguably the best team in it last year, and they finished fifth on the ladder. They, got knocked out early in the playoffs as well. Didn't even see the semi-finals in a team in which we thought was going to walk through the NBL. Derek Rucker made this whole comment how he would walk from Melbourne to Perth or Sydney to Perth if the Sydney Kings didn't win the championship. And they didn't win the championship. And he still hasn't walked over here either as of yet. So shout out Derek Rucker. You better get that going soon, mate, or there'll be some massive consequences.
Are they the only team to have 2 MVPs?
Ooh, as of right now, off the top of my head, I'd say yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think, Brisbane's got one at the moment with Jalen Adams. Bryce Cotton, obviously, is the only one at Adelaide. Yeah, they're the only team at the moment with 2 NBL MVPs at the moment. So, yeah, another thing as well, and potentially as well. Well, actually, have they got 2 MVPs, though? It's only Xavier Cooks at the moment with the MVP.
True, but MVP caliber.
MVP caliber, yeah. If we're going in MVP caliber, I'd say there's probably a couple other teams. Like I would have Brisbane in that category now with Jalen Adams and Casey Prather as their two-headed spear. I reckon New Zealand have got a genuine superstar in Isaiah Brockington as well, who could be an MVP candidate with Parker Jackson Cartwright as well. So there's probably a couple of teams in the NBL now who have got that MVP caliber player combination. Some of them even got trios as well. But yeah, I think the Sydney Kings have probably got the best 2-man combination in the NBL. I think we'll definitely go with that as well. But yeah, I'm not 100% set on them right now. For me, they're a bit of a pretender at the moment until I see otherwise. But again, it's a very interesting one. And the last one we'll touch on as well is one that is a little bit close to both of our hearts. We're both WA boys, the Perth Wildcats. Now, they've had a bit of an up and down off season. We sort of mentioned it off the top as well. Obviously, losing Bryce Cotton is no easy feat, but we move on from that and go forward. But they've retained Dylan Windler. They've retained Christian Doolittle. They've brought in Joe Lawala-Chul. There's been some reports. They obviously went after Xavier Simpson, a EuroLeague point guard who was a genuine star. That one has fallen through for a number of reasons. And a really good bench behind them as well. Caleb, are the Perth Wildcats a pretender or a contender heading into NBL 26?
Look, this is a team I know about. This is a team I want to back. I'm not going to back them, all right? Pretenders. Okay, only because they haven't got that guard position filled yet. I'm sure they will fill it out eventually, right? And they'll find someone that can score. But they need someone that can shoot, that can space the floor. That's what they're going to need. I really like the JLA signing. And similar to the 36ers, versatile as well. Windler can play the 2, Doolittle can play the 3. Then you got JLA at the 5 or 4, and then they can have a 5th man, or like David Aquera or something like that, right? They've got good depth in Elijah Pepper. We've seen what he's doing this season in NBL 1. Hopefully it translates into NBL. I would absolutely love that. And then David Aquera, he's a bit of a player they need to put all their development skills into, because he's 7 foot. He can shoot. I've been at many training sessions that he's been at back when he was at the Redbacks. I think he should be playing 3. He should be a small forward. All right. There's a bit of questions on if he's quick enough or if he can ball handle. That's what you develop him for. If you can develop him into a 3, he is going to cause havoc for other teams' defenders. And we're going to have so much length on the court. If he's at the 3, Windler's at the 2, and JLA and Doolittle on that court as well. It's going to be tough for other teams to get through. But yeah, obviously we know the Wildcats are trying to go in a direction of a balanced team with great defense and high IQ basketball. It's just a matter of fact if they can find that really good import. It doesn't even have to be at BC's level. If they can get someone at BC's level, good job. But I doubt they will ever do that ever again. But yeah, I've got them Pretenders now, obviously only because their team isn't filled out.
But it's a tough one because, like, if we put them in the same category as Melbourne United, for example, obviously Melbourne hasn't completely filled out their squad, but in your mind, as of right now, they are a contender in the NBL. If we sort of foreshadow the Perth Wildcats going after let's not say Kendric Davis-esque point guard, but maybe the level down from Kendric Davis, is that team sort of get over the hump a little bit and are in that contender category? You know, a guy who may be averaging 17 points per game and 5 or 6 assists. Is that the sort of piece that would get them over that contender mark for yourself?
Coming into the season, definitely contending. I wouldn't have them winning it all because I don't think offensively they'd be able to score enough. But defensively, I think that would be absolute weapons. But looking at that Wildcats team as well, I'm an Emmett Nah fanboy, and I think he would suit that backup point guard position just to be a steady guy, high IQ guy on that floor, a bit like a Mitch Norton type. You know what I mean? I think they should try sign Emmett Nah, but obviously after they find their import that they need.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think, I'm not 100% sold on the Perth Wildcats. I think I've made that pretty convincingly obvious over the whole entire off-season so far. Like, I
say how you really feel, man.
I think I am. This is my time to finally start to talk about the organisation in a little bit of a light-hearted way, but maybe not at the same time, because I have gotten quite sick of the Perth Wildcats' lack of transparency, I would say. I think they are trying to be transparent over the past couple of weeks and obviously this off-season as well, but I think it's all fake sort of smoke. And it's starting to do my head in a little bit as a guy who has followed the Perth Wildcats for a number of years. Let me just preface this right now as well. You'll see a little Instagram video if you check us out at the Basketball Fix podcast on Instagram over the next couple of weeks. I am putting away the red and black for a while. I'll be following my man BC to the Adelaide 36ers for this year as well. So
wow.
I've had enough of what I've seen.
I want bandwagon comments. We will,
100%. Send it to me right now. But like in the NBA, I follow one individual player instead of a team. I follow LeBron. I'm going to be following Bryce Cotton in the NBL as well. So a little preface for everyone out there as well. Like I said, you'll see something out over the next couple of weeks. But I am quite over the Perth Wildcats as a whole entire organisation. Everything just starts to feel a little bit fake in my eyes at the moment as well. And, you know, at the end of the day, I hope this club has success because they are the genuine powerhouse of the NBL and have been for a number of years. But over the past sort of 4 to 5 years, since Jack Bendat sold the club to Craig Hutchison at SEN, and from SEN's time into Mark Arena's time, the club has just not felt the same. It hasn't had the same feel. It hasn't had the same fan environment. It hasn't had the same on-court success since obviously Trev Gleeson left the club as well as the head coach. So, you know, I'm just over it. Now, when I look at this team from a perspective of can they be a genuine contender? Yeah, I think they're pretty close. I don't think they are right now. Like you mentioned, I don't think the offensive end is as set as it is right now. I don't think Elijah Pepper is a starting star in the NBL just yet. He's still got some ways to go. They need to get Ben Henschel back. That is a genuine must for the Perth Wildcats to play the 2 guard. And then obviously shore up an import point guard as well. So Emmett Nah, I don't think would then fit into the squad, unfortunately. But I think from a perspective of obviously having Ben Henschel as your 2-man, Windler 3, Christian Doolittle 4, can play the 5 at certain times as well. Joe Lawala-Chul, a really dynamic player. I love what they're doing, but a lot of things off the court and what you hear from the club, what you hear from around the place as well. Yeah, I'm just not fully convinced that, you know, everything around the club needs to be solid for it to be a championship contender. You know, when you look at Tassie, they've got such a great foundation. They've got a great supporting cast, a great front office. It's really, really solid from the top down. You know, Melbourne have had this exact same for a number of years. Illawarra won the championship last year, exact same, solid all around. I'm just not set right now that the Perth Wildcats have that tightness and that solidness from the exact top of the chain as well. So you can read into that as much as you want to read into that, but they are my opinions right now. But I'm going to have them as genuine pretenders until I see otherwise. But Caleb, let's move in. Oh, you got a quick one there, mate. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have Pep as a 1 or a 2?
He's a 2. He's a genuine 2,
Yep.
man. Pep needs to be able to, like, Pepper is a guy who needs to turn and he needs to start to look at a Chris Goulding, for example. That's who Elijah Pepper needs to mold his game into. Coming off screens, coming off really, really hard actions as well, and getting some wide open shots with some big screens set from like Joe Lawala-Chul and Christian Doolittle as well. So, yeah, get the ball out of his hands as much as possible. Make him into a scorer. I know it's probably not his natural game. I know obviously throughout his college career and what we're seeing at Warwick as well, it's more give him the ball and allow him to facilitate and score. He's putting up crazy numbers in the NBL 1 West, albeit not probably the top NBL 1 conference in Australia as of right now when you do look at NBL sort of caliber players. I know, like I've spoken to a few people, it's very import heavy, obviously, over here in the West, which is also great. But when you are looking at sort of NBL talent to compare him to, it's him and Isaac are clear front runners right now. But when you look at other conferences as well, there's a plethora of NBL talent to compare to as well. So, you know, again, I love what he's doing. He's having a historical NBL 1 season. Doesn't matter where you are. But he's a genuine 2-man for me, mate.
Fair enough.
Perfect. All righty, let's move into the third segment. Who is the coach most under pressure heading into NBL 26? There are a number of options, Caleb. There we could go for a Scott Roth, who would probably be unfairly under some pressure, potentially a Justin Tatum coming off of a NBL 25 grand final. Is it John Rillie from the Perth Wildcats? Is it Mike Wells from the Adelaide 36ers? Mate, let us know who the coach of your choice is for the most under pressure award for the off-season.
I've gone a bit of a different route with this sort of question. Obviously, when you propose this question, it's more, who can get sacked, right? But I've gone for someone who might put the most pressure on himself, and it's Brisbane Bullets head coach Stu Lash. Obviously, it's his first season in the league, so he's going to be wanting to make an impression and really prove himself. And they've gone out and signed an absolute stud, right? And then they've also got Prather as well. Their big man over in Summer League, he's been playing really well, and I think he's coming back. I don't think he's going to be in the NBA this year, so I think he's coming back. So their lineup's looking good, and they've had disappointing seasons the last few years. So their fans are wanting something. You know, they're wanting some wins again. They're wanting more memberships. They're wanting bums in seats at the stadium. So yeah, obviously they brought in Adams. They've also brought in Dukas as well.
Yep.
Now,
massive.
some questions around him. Do you play him at the 3 or do you play him at the 2? Comments going around, you need to play him at the 2 if he's to make it to the NBA. But we'll see what they do with that lineup there. And then, yeah, obviously Harrison, he's a fantastic big. But yeah, so not really like pressure in terms of, he's going to get the sack, but just more pressure on himself to prove himself and really make a statement to the fans and the club that they can expect some great things in the future if they don't win it this year.
Mate, I'm not going to lie. When I saw this on the run sheet at first, I was a little bit shocked because I was kind of like, okay, first year coach in the league, you know, the expectations aren't probably there, like you mentioned, of being a championship contender. But when we look back to only 2 or 3 months ago when this signing was announced, the names that were thrown around were Modi Mayor, former New Zealand Breaker coach, Chase Buford, 2-time Sydney Kings championship winning coach. They were the names that were being floated as the next Brisbane Bullets head coach. And then this guy comes along who's never coached in his life. I don't believe he's coached a head coaching role in his life. So, you know, when you talk about pressure, 100% that's there because Brisbane want immediate success. They're obviously going out and spending money this year. Like you mentioned, Jalen Adams. I think if I was to write the starting 5 down for the Brisbane Bullets, I should say, it'll be Jalen Adams at the 1, be Sam McDaniel at the 2, Alex Dukas as of right now at the 3, Casey Prather at the 4, and Tyrell Harrison at the 5. But the team may have to pivot, obviously, if Tyrell Harrison does sign a 2-way deal in the NBA, which will probably be announced over the next couple of weeks, I'd say, if he was going to sign a deal. So a lot of business moves to still be made. They've obviously got guys like Mitch Norton as well to come off the bench, Toby Smith-Milner. It's a really solid pick because I think they are looking for immediate success. You don't go out and spend a lot of money on Jalen Adams and Casey Prather and Dukas and obviously try to retain Harrison and McDaniel and all these guys if you're not looking for championship success. So the pressure is well and truly on, and I absolutely love that one. Now, feeding into sort of my pretender contender sort of thing a little bit early on, some people would have got who I was talking about when I was trying not to elaborate too much on the Sydney Kings. That's Brian Goorjian. Now, let me just start off by saying this. I mean, no disrespect to the entire career of Brian Goorjian when I say this. But I think he's lost the plot a little bit. I think his game style is slightly outdated. And, you know, when we look at the modern basketball game, it's a lot of three-point shots, which they tried to do last year and just couldn't find the right sets. And they became way too predictable throughout the season. And like I mentioned off the top as well, they were the best team in the NBL on paper last year. Arguably the best team we've seen over a number of years until Adelaide whooped up what they've whipped up this year as well. And they finished fifth on the ladder. Now, for a legendary coach, I just think he hasn't got it in him right now, potentially. And again, this is why he's got the most pressure on himself to prove himself, to get a team back to the NBL championships. And by me saying this over the past 2 seasons, this is not me going back and saying his last 25, 30 years of being a coach have been horrible and shit and all that sort of stuff as well. I am looking at his time in the Sydney Kings. If you go back to it, his time in Illawarra was sensational. He led that team to multiple semi-finals, you know, top of the ladder, all that sort of stuff. You know, second on place, I believe it was, and third on ladder as well. Had a really good Boomers sort of campaign as well at the most recent Olympics. I think it's made some mistakes as well, which we started to see appearing as well with a few poor choices and selections and also a few poor runs of plays and obviously substitutions as well in key games. So I'm just starting to think maybe there's some sort of crack starting to appear for Brian Goorjian. And the other thing as well is he's got to know the guy standing right behind him, who is a current co-owner of the team in Andrew Bogut, is the next man for the job. And I'm not sure if there's a succession plan that's been spoken about, but we know what succession plans and what happens to them. They end up horrible. One coach ends up hating the other, trying to, you know, play too much for themselves instead of being for the team and trying to win games where they potentially can't win games and all this sort of shit as well. It just creates a really toxic environment. So, you know, I'm not 100% full of belief right now in the Sydney Kings due to Brian Goorjian. It's not due to the talent. It's just due to Brian Goorjian and him proving to me that he can make it work. So is that a bit of a rough call, do you reckon, Caleb, in terms of obviously what he's done for his entire career and obviously heading into a fresh NBL 26 season?
No, I think it's fair. I know around the basketball, some people have a bit of beef with him on what he's done with the Boomers as well and thinking that his play style doesn't work there, right? What was his contract for? How long is he a coach for?
It was a 3-year deal. So he's got this year, he had last year, this year, and next year on the contract. So that's why I believe there may be some sort of succession plan. Maybe if it doesn't go well this year, they look to cut him and bring Andrew Bogut in after 1 year of coaching. I don't know. But yeah, 3-year deal was the original signing.
Yeah, well, obviously, like any coach that's had a team for an extended period of time and then also has a stacked roster, they're always going to be under pressure, right?
Yeah.
And whilst internally they probably back him and really believe he can do something, if through in the middle of the season they're just not performing, they'll get him gone because the fans will be uproar and eventually, that's just how the business is, all right? But more importantly, like, what do you think of his beard?
His beard? Well, it's I haven't seen his beard, to be honest with you. Is it grey?
Oh, you haven't seen it? He's grown out a beard recently. He's still got it in training
I did see a
camps.
video actually at the Summer League, actually, when he was over there for the New York Knicks. He is growing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't really rock with the beard and no hair combination or like the, you know, bum fluff on the top of your head, to be honest with you. So, yeah, we'll give it a 6 out of 10. What's your rating?
I like it, but if you're a coach, you can't. If it's that like scruffy and stuff, you got to get rid of it because some players might get distracted. You know what I mean?
Brian Goorjian is one of those guys though who he sort of tinkers the line with being a stereotypical old boy with the bum bag, but then has one of the best shoe games in the entire NBL. Like his shoe game check it out this year when he's on the sidelines. He rocks some incredible shoes all season long. I seen him wearing TNs a few years ago for the Illawarra Hawks, bright orange and green TNs. So he's got a bit of a shoe game, Mr. Brian Goorjian. But again, he rocks around with the fanny pack as well. So that's always one to look
how
at.
much rope are you giving him? Like if they start the season 0-5, are you just calling it there, or
No, I
seeing it
think
out?
I think he gets the whole season. Like I think if what I think will happen is, and this is not what I want to happen. Like again, we're having predictions. We are media, and we have our thoughts. We watch the game closely and everything like that. But if I am the Sydney Kings, I'm at least letting him see through the rest of the season because, like realistically, who's going to take over? Like you've probably got Daniel Kickett behind, who's been an assistant coach there for a number of years. I would love to see Fleur McIntyre be the first women's coach in the NBL. Like she was a former Sydney Kings assistant coach. She's, I believe, over in the WNBA right now. So like I wouldn't say Andrew Bogut is the succession plan. If it didn't go well this year and Brian Goorjian was released at the end of the season, I don't think you can bring in Andrew Bogut off one season of an assistant coach in an environment where it's one of the most pressured environments to win an NBL championship. So I'm probably not. I don't see him getting sacked. Let's just say they start 0-6. I don't see him getting sacked because there's no real, sort of okay. This is the clear way forward. So I think he finishes the season, and if all things don't go well, then I think he'll be removed at the end of the season. What are your thoughts on that though?
Yeah, I agree with the end of season. I reckon if they're not top 4 or if they don't make the grand final, serious depends why they don't make the grand final. If it's like clear cut, like oh man, that was terrible. But obviously, if it's injuries or if they're one play away or something like that, they probably let him go again. Kendric Davis, how long was his contract for?
Just the 1 year so far.
Yeah, so a bit of a timeline there as well. Obviously, if him and Kendric Davis clash, and Kendric Davis pulls a BC and says it's me or the coach, you might need to go with KD. You know what I mean?
100%. And obviously as well, like they have got some decent stability around him. Like obviously Delhi sort of sits around there for the next 3 years as he tries to prepare for another potential Olympic campaign as well. Xavier Cooks, I think, is going to be a man on a mission this year. So he's going to have all the talent to, like you mentioned, get to a grand final series. Like I wouldn't necessarily say if they didn't make the grand final, that would be a failure. Like I think they've got to make the top 4. Like I think top 4 in this NBL at the moment with how strong some teams are looking is going to be a really good sort of, benchmark essentially. But, if they finish anywhere under that, they finish 5th or 6th potentially this year again, or God forbid, miss the playoffs entirely. Like I think heads will roll 100% at the Sydney Kings. And, we'll see a lot of things come out. But again, like we mentioned, we're not hoping for this. We're just potentially predicting this as well. But we've got a little quick one as we start to wrap up today's show. Caleb, I want your boldest, biggest, most outrageous prediction heading into NBL 26. What do you got for me?
Absolutely, man. The Wildcats have increased their gold prices for their memberships. It's almost double the team that is second. I think it's at $1,500, all right, to be a membership. But my bold prediction is they will sell them out.
Yeah,
I think they're selling them out.
Yep.
It's obviously, I think he came up with a BS reason on why he increased them. But I think they're going to still sell them out. And if they do sell them out, they're going to increase them again. So, but I think the demand is there. If we had a second Perth team, I think they probably wouldn't. But yeah, 100%, they're selling them out.
Yeah, I don't mind it. And if you don't know what Caleb's talking about, like I mentioned, go check us out on Instagram, links below as well. We put up if you were becoming a new member in the NBL, what would a price? Now, one little thing to flag there as well, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix didn't have their gold adults membership up there. I've only just realized that from a few comments. I've accidentally put the kids membership up there, but their membership sits at $540. So instead of being last at $244, they're still only second last in terms of lowest pricings. But one thing to flag that as well, mate, which I thought was outlandish, which I didn't actually explain on the post because I didn't want to get people more riled up. But the Tasmania Jack Jumpers is $864 roughly per season. That's for 14 games, including the Ignite games. Perth Wildcats is $1,529 with 12 games, not including the Ignite games. So you're having to pay the extra cash to get yourself into an Ignite game as well. So 14 games, at the second highest price at $864, or 12 games at $15.29. I know where I'm heading, but again, we'll leave the Perth Wildcats there. But I'm going to go on a little bit of a Perth Wildcat flavour as well, mate. I'm going to go Christian Doolittle will win the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year award. I am very high on Christian Doolittle, what he can do in the NBL. We saw last season when Bryce Cotton wasn't there as a ball-dominant sort of point guard. Christian Doolittle had multiple games of 30 points and 15 rebounds with a couple of assists. He is an absolute defensive beast. 2 or 3 steals, 2 or 3 blocks. I think he can roughly average throughout this entire NBL season. And having a dominant big man inside like Joe Lawala-Chul is going to dramatically help him as well in terms of just being able to focus on a key matchup. He was having to do so much last year with obviously Keanu Pinder having a very poor defensive season, and obviously Itan Almansa as well having a very poor defensive season as well. So, I think Doolittle doesn't have as much pressure on him to perform this year, as weird as that does sound, as he steps into that number one player potentially for the Perth Wildcats. But I think he can average 19, 20 points per game, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. If they finish top 3 somehow, he's a genuine MVP candidate. 2 blocks, 2 steals, 9 rebounds, and finishing top 3 as well. It puts him in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation as well. So that is my little bold prediction there as well. Still a little bit of Perth Wildcat at heart in me as well, mate, before I start to absolutely bag the shit out of them for the rest of the season. But Caleb, where can we find you, mate? Too Short for the League. I love your logo. Love everything you're doing as well. Where can we find you? All your links. Obviously, you've got an Instagram, a YouTube, a Discord. Drop them now, and they'll all be in the Discord, in the description as well. But where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, man, just Too Short for the League, absolutely everywhere. Instagram, YouTube's also Too Short for the League. Yeah, man, just hit that follow button, subscribe to YouTube. If you're in the West and you like NBL 1 West, obviously it's the place to be. I do game day vlogs as well. But yeah, I'm stepping into NBL content, and I'll be on here all the time, right? Giving my opinions and trying to be funny and bring some humor to the show. But yeah, I really appreciate you for having me. Yeah, it's been fun. I can't wait for the season, man. We are going to grow something big this season.
100%. The Basketball Fix and Too Short for the League will well and truly be growing and merging together as well for a number of projects. You are most likely going to be seeing Caleb as well on a lot of Beyond the Buzzer, the main NBL show here at the Basketball Fix. We've got a few little things to work through as well with Beyond the Buzzer. We've got about 5 hosts and co-hosts sort of rotating throughout the year, so it's going to be exciting, plus obviously players and other media members coming on as well for certain episodes. So a lot in the works at the Basketball Fix, as there always is. Now, a quick little disclaimer for everyone as well. We have had to disband from the individual team podcasts just due to complete time constraints, and also just growing and potentially obviously focusing on certain parts of the brand as well. So it hasn't been an easy decision, but all those podcasts, I believe, are still going to be kicking on as well. So make sure you still go and support all of those shows. They are incredible. We've had so much fun, obviously, having them under the Basketball Fix banner, but there does come a time where you've got to sort of look at the whole brand and sort of go in a certain business structure that is working for you at that particular point, and obviously for the brand at a particular point as well. So make sure you go and check out all of those podcasts: Hawks Hangout, Tassie Takeover, Wildcat Rap. There are a plethora of podcasts heading into NBL 26 and a lot of content over there as well. So again, mate, thank you very much for jumping on board. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can produce in NBL 26. And again, make sure you go and check Caleb out at Too Short for the League on Instagram, YouTube, and join the Discord chat as well. All those links in the description. But until next time, we hope you've gotten your basketball fix.